This is it, people. This is what you've been waiting for. This is Everyday Celebrity Podcast. The podcast for everyday people with everyday problems, trying to find everyday solutions to accomplish everyday goals. Let's start the show. Welcome to another episode of Everyday Celebrity Podcast. This is your host, Jordan Owandi, the number one podcast in Oakland, number one podcast in the Bay Area. Today we have a special guest. When you think of women who just have that aura, when you think of women who just make you want to not cuss, stand up straight when they walk in the room, women like Erykah Badu and Jill Scott comes to mind. We have an artist, a creator with me today. She is a painter. I believe she's a poet. Model. Lena, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, how was your day?
My day was good. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
I'm grateful. I am, I was just telling you that, part of my MSW program includes an internship. And because of COVID and everything, almost everything is being done remotely, via Zoom and things like that. So I'm a little, just a little drained, but I also feel very recharged being in this space. So I'm doing
What are you
good.
in school for?
It's a master's program for social work. Yeah.
And you did undergrad where?
CSU East Bay for my undergrad. I got my degree in sociology. And I'm also at that same school right now for social work.
Okay. So what do you want to do in social work when you finish?
When I finish, it's a wonderful question. I could see myself going in so many different directions. But I have clarity as far as knowing I'm meant to just be of help, especially with very underserved, under-resourced, marginalized communities. I have a very strong spiritual community that's helping initiate me into being a healer in that realm. And I feel like I'm also being primed to be a healer in this academic community. There's this beautiful parallel journey going on right now for me.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very grateful.
And then when you say healing, what type of healing are you talking about?
I don't feel like, similar to art, I don't feel like healing can really be confined to one mode. If you're meant to be a healer, it presents itself in so many different modalities and manifestations. But I did come into this world just with this kind of empathic energy, strong sort of clairvoyant, intuitive energy. And I've always just kind of, I've always done sort of like quasi-Reiki and just different African spirituality, indigenous spirituality. I'm very, it involves having to kind of touch people if they're comfortable with it, kind of feeling where their energy is and moving energy. And that's just the surface of it all. Does that make sense? I see myself
a little bit.
I'm really into herbalism, really into gardening.
Yeah.
Just again, I can't confine it to one mode. I just see myself being of help. Just like a little street curandera, just a little helper that people can come to when they need a little guidance, a little clarity, love. Okay.
Have you always been into like spirituality and healing and all that?
Yeah. It's trendy right now in a way, but this is nothing new to me. I want to say my first experience that I can recall was about at age 5. I was just really drawn to Yoruba, African spirituality. I made my first altar for Yamaya. I would visit the ocean a lot. And then I was introduced to this healer from Peru, who would meet with me one-on-one, do a number of cleansing rituals and ceremonies with me, teach me a lot. And we would only talk in Spanish and indigenous languages. I didn't always understand the indigenous dialects he was speaking to me in, but the Spanish, I understood it all.
Yeah.
And he would not talk to me in anything else.
This is in Peru?
No, he was from Peru, but he would come up to the Bay to share some of his gifts with, kind of the bougie, hippy-dippy white community, scratching at the doors of indigenous and African spirituality. But it would help fund a school that he ran in the Andes with his wife. So he'd come up here just to, collect his coins, share his gifts, and go back down there. And whenever he was up here, he'd meet with me. And I've had a number of other experiences since then where I just have been kind of initiated into this world of learning how to be a healer. Have you been outside the country before? Yeah. Where? Well, I was born outside of the country, firstly. I was born in Ukraine, adopted from there when I was about 9 months old. And I'm adopted from parents in the U.S.? A mother, single mother, lesbian mother in Oakland, yes. Yeah. Was it a white woman? Yes. And I love her. She's so well-intentioned. And of course, she's a little limited as far as helping me. She was a little limited in helping me piece together my own lineage, my own ancestral lineage. So, but I'm realizing now that's kind of an essential part of the journey. Doing that research, that self-work. Yeah. It's not, no one's really there to spell it out for you. You have to figure it out. But yeah, so on my birth mother's side, I have a lot of European, Russian, Eastern European, a number of other things. But on my father's side, I've got a rich myriad of African and indigenous and Latin running through me. So you found out who your real parents were? I don't know who they are. But I've done, DNA testings just to have a better understanding of what my background is, and I trust that in time, if I'm meant to find them or any family, I will. Yeah. I recently did 23andMe, and that does actually link you to family members who've taken the test. And I have a whole lot of family in the Caribbean, a whole lot in Cuba, DR, Colombia, a lot in Nigeria. And a lot in the U.S. actually. So when I'm ready, I know it's not going to be that hard. Oh, so you haven't reached out to any of them yet? Yeah. I've just been so on my own, very independent, self-sufficient. I haven't, a part of me is like, I don't need to meet anybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? But there is that primal, that curiosity that I think is there for most adopted people. And when the time is right, I trust that will happen if it's meant to be. Your adopted mother, do you think she was able to teach you, I don't know, how to be a woman of color? I mean, if she's white, I know she can't teach you that, but do you think she directed you in the right way, as giving you like, oh, you should read this, you should go to this class, or putting you in different programs and shit where you can learn your history? Yes. Or learn how to be a Black woman? And yeah, she did her best. I mean, there are way more resources now, in my opinion, for white people who want to adopt children of color or Black children. When I was, I used to do childcare nannying for an African-American boy who was adopted by 2 white women. And they were just super involved. Like, we just went to a conference where we learned how to do his hair. Like, I just thought that was so cute. That wasn't really around when I was growing up. So again, a lot of it I had to self-teach. But I do think that she tried her best, to get me a lot of books where, the people in the books looked like me. She would get me dolls as best she could that looked like me. She tried to get me in dance centers, community centers, art centers where people looked like me, were like me, are me, Yeah. And then when I was 13, it was right after I did a genealogy test, my first round of that. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm like, I got a lot of African ancestry in me, and I just became very curious, it just went deeper. It's like it goes in layers and you start to find out this stuff. Initially with my adoption papers, all I knew was my parents' nationalities. And as you know, that has nothing to do with their ethnic background, their racial background. Yeah. So for years, I was just like, okay, I'm Ukrainian and Lebanese. You know, and I came across like I was denying my African ancestry to most of our people, you know, and there was perhaps some internalized racism, some colorism going on within me, you know, but again, I really was just ignorant. I did not know because this is all I had were these papers to go off of. Yeah. And there are very dark skinned people in the Middle East, contrary to what a lot of people think, you know, and that's very rich. There's Africans in the middle, like, you know. But I just didn't know that I had so much West African and Caribbean and like Latin American and indigenous roots too. You know what I mean? But yeah, sorry to answer your question directly. I went to this, have you heard of Camp Akili?
No.
I went there when I was about 13. It's a Black empowerment camp, and it was all about like teaching youth about their ancestors and sort of the history of slavery, the aftermath of such.
When did you go there?
I was 13. Oh. So some years ago and many years ago. And that was
your mother sent you there, or you found it out and asked her, oh, can I go
there? She actually found out about it. Okay. And she was like, are you interested? I would be happy to help you go to this. So I think it's safe to say she tried as best she could.
Is she still alive?
Yeah.
You guys are close?
Yes. We've had our tension, legitimate tension. There's been some ways that, as well-intentioned as I said she is and has been, she's made some very, very intense major errors with me, in my opinion.
As far as what?
As far as being a brown girl, a Black girl, sort of punishing me for things when I was being purely victimized in a variety of situations, because there's so much deep-rooted misogyny towards Black women in this society. With certain things I went through growing up, I was often punished for them instead of understood, sent away for them instead of being held, you know, and judged, criticized, labeled, shamed, all of that. And that was more towards like my late teenagehood, like when I was like 17 and sort of coming into my womanhood a little more. She just didn't understand a lot of what I was going through and exploring.
Were you ever abused?
I guess you
not
could,
by. I'm talking about like sexually abused by any man growing up.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay. On multiple occasions, different scenarios. Yes.
And you told your mom about this? And you're upset with the way she handled it, or what?
I'm not upset. I'm really at peace right now with all of that. I've done a lot of healing work on myself and with her, you know, and she has apologized so much to me for some of her misunderstanding. Yeah. And I guess failure to shelter me as a mother in ways that I felt like were just necessary. So we've come a really long way. I've come a really long way. So I don't feel like, you know, too much, at least. Sometimes it fluctuates. Yeah. Like sometimes it'll come back to me like the tide, and I'm just, you know, I get angry, but it's not healthy. It's not beneficial for me to hold on to it. It built grit in me. It built character in me. And I, you know, like most people, we learn what we want to do and what not to do from who raised us. And we can just hope for the best when it's our turn, if we're blessed to have that experience as parents as well.
Do you, the things that you went through as a child, do you think is that why you geared toward, like being very spiritual? You're not religious, are you? Just spiritual? Spiritual, yeah. Okay. Do you think, being sexually abused and everything else, is that like one of the main reasons why you became very spiritual? No, I was into that before anything like that happened. Oh, okay. A lot of sort of the mishandling I experienced, that came at least many years after I was already really into it. About age 5, I was really into it. And I mean, I've had some experiences younger than that, actually, and not much older than that, sadly. But I don't think it was tied to that. It's just always been a very deep-rooted part of me. It hasn't been like a means of saving me from, you know, the dark depths of trauma, so to speak. A lot of people turn to religion as like, or spirituality as a means to make sense of hardship.
this sort of self-help, self-betterment thing. And I see beauty in that, but that's not me. Okay. So it was implanted in me way earlier.
What's the difference between religion and spirituality to you?
For me, I think everybody can have their own personal definition of that. And that's kind of the beauty of spirituality to me in and of itself, is that you can have your own sort of personal practice. You get to have a myriad of things to draw in from, you know, and it's less secular, or just it's less confined to sort of what I consider to be the confines of organized religion. I don't, with a lot of religion, it's monotheistic, or it has sort of these undertones of like patriarchy running throughout it. And that doesn't resonate with me. People's notion or understanding of like a supreme being, I don't personify that in any way, shape, or form. It's so much deeper and more profound than that to me. I understand why, you know, there's just something very ineffable about spirituality to me. It cannot be fully understood, comprehended, or articulated by us humans. We try as best we can, and that's sort of how I see a lot of some spiritual practices, but mainly religious practices. It's like a very beautiful attempt at making sense of something that is not necessarily meant to be fully understood by us.
Who is some of the people that you look up to as far as like teachings and writings and
I love a number of Middle Eastern poets, Hafiz, Rumi. From a really young age, I was drawn to them. Khalil Gibran. Let's see. I am really drawn to, once again, Yoruba spirituality. So a number of priests, priestesses, chiefs, healers within that practice. I've always been drawn to that. Same with Santeria. I mean, that has like religious, like Christian undertones, you know, but it, the roots of it are still African.
Yeah.
So I've always been drawn to that. As far as philosophy goes, I mean, I love ancient and Western philosophy, as much as I like Eastern philosophy, East and West. But as far as that goes, I love, you know, Plato, Socrates, even more modern European thinkers. Like, I mean, they're not that modern at this point, but more modern than that. So I love Heidegger, even though it's just likely, you know, it's difficult for me to reconcile with my liking of some of these men, white men, because I know that they considered me intrinsically beneath them.
Yeah.
But I still see beauty in some of their truths. I love Foucault. I love, who else do I love? Of course, I'm drawing a blank right now, but those are just some of my favorites. Those are the ones I always return to.
Yeah. When did you start painting?
That was probably it's actually hard for me to say. I think dancing and painting both entered my life at a really young age. About probably 5, once again, is when I started painting dancers, female dancers. Okay. And that was a big theme. I've always painted women. I don't really have any interest in painting men, and people have misinterpreted that.
Wait a minute. Why?
I'm about to tell you. I love men. I'm actually like sadly only drawn to y'all as far as like my sexual orientation goes. A lot of people
surprising.
I know. A lot of people misconstrue my love for painting women as being drawn to them sexually, because I often do depict women in sort of a sexual manner or nude manner.
And you have to be you have to love the female body if you're like painting it, right?
It's beautiful. It is art. The female form is just divine, you know. And
that is true.
But I can have respect for it and love for it and not want to have sex with it. You know, it just doesn't do it for me.
So you just don't paint male bodies because
it's not as fun to me, not as interesting to me, not as beautiful to me. I'm not saying, like, I've had a lot of women interested in me over the years, but I feel like I'm a little selfish when it comes to the love department with them. You know, I don't have any interest in reciprocating certain things they want to do to me sexually. And that just feels wrong. So I'm just like, it's not fair to you, sis, or whatever you go by, you know?
Yeah.
I like what I like. I like strong, divine male energy. Nice. In that department.
Okay.
But I have so much love and respect for just everything under the sun. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't judge or discriminate against anybody who resonates with something different as far as like platonic connections, spiritual connections, professional connections, whatever, you know.
When you were growing up, did your mother have a partner?
Mm-hmm. Many. Or not many, like, not like a plethora, but just, you know.
So she didn't have just one woman that you knew your whole life? Okay. Okay. And so you grew up in Oakland, correct?
Yes.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Berkeley High.
Berkeley High.
Yeah.
What type of person were you like in high school?
That shifted throughout my high school career.
Were you rebellious? A rebellious
towards the end, for sure. When I first entered in, like I would say my first 2 years in high school, I was very reserved, shy. I mean, I've always been introverted, but just I was in a place of being so self-loathing. My self-esteem was so low.
Were you? I don't mean to interrupt. Were you one of those girls who?
Sorry.
Were you one of those girls who didn't know they were beautiful? Like, yeah,
I mean, I'm still coming to...
Like all of the guys wanted you, but you didn't understand why?
Yeah, I still think that's me. I still don't really see what other people seem to see.
You don't think you're a beautiful woman?
I think everybody's beautiful.
Do you think you are?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm speaking more to my internal characteristics, though. Mm-hmm. You know, it's still hard for me to see the external stuff that other people compliment me on. Perhaps it's because it doesn't really matter to me. Ultimately, it's fleeting, external beauty. So I love to appreciate it in others, but I don't linger on it too much with myself because it's just like, for what? You know?
So you were in high school. When you finished high school, did you go straight to Cal State East Bay?
No. It was a big... All right. So how much time we got?
All the time you need. All
right. So like I was saying, my first 2 years, very reserved, very shy, would cover up a lot. I was arguably dealing with like anorexia, dang near. Like I was in a very self-deprecating place. Mm-hmm. And I had just come from an all-girls middle school where I was like probably one of 5 brown/black girls.
Okay.
It was a big culture shock, and it took me a minute to just understand myself and everyone around me. Mm-hmm. And once I started developing more and started getting more comfortable with like dancing a certain way, appreciating the body I was stepping into more and more, not starving myself anymore, you know, I sort of swung a little too far to the other end and just became a little too determined or fixated on presenting myself in a very sexual manner. But there's so much power and potency to like sexuality and divine female energy. And I didn't understand it. So I was wielding it in ways that I didn't even understand. And I wasn't grounded in it. And I can see why that concerned some people, you know, from afar or even up close. That's not to say I was having a lot of sex. I know it sounds like I'm saying that, but it was more just the type of male interest I was pulling in and allowing, you know, it was a little murky.
Yeah.
And the way I was dressing even, it was like I was like embodying a very shallow surface level.
Were you dating like grown men in high school?
I've always been drawn to men much older than me. And I know some people would categorize that as quintessential Freudian daddy issues or whatever, but it's not necessarily just that for me, if that at all.
Yeah.
I'm very drawn to emotional maturity, men who carry themselves with a certain level of confidence, respect for women, have sort of a lot of life experience on their back and just know how to act, you know? Yeah. And that usually is older men, not always, but it tends to be.
Okay.
So I'm drawn to just older energy, old souls.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my first boyfriend, I think I was 14 and it's not legal, but I won't blast him, but he was, let's just say it was not legal. He was much older.
Was that nigga 37?
Nah, it wasn't that bad. He was like 20.
20.
But I did not look 14. I did not act 14. Do you understand?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
In some ways.
So, like,
not saying it was okay.
that's all high school girls now.
Right. I'm not, in retrospect, I understand why it was not appropriate, but at the same time, it wasn't as inappropriate as some might have assumed. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Okay. So continue. So why, you were telling the story of why you didn't.
Go straight to college. So basically in my, senior year of high school, prom night, I was videotaped having sex unwittingly. I did not know this was happening to me.
Wow.
And it wasn't even being done by the person I was having sex with. We were both it was unbeknownst to us both. It was really invasive. It was really humiliating. It was really like crafty and sneaky the way that this person did this to both of us, really. But it was someone who was kind of stalking me. Was a little obsessed with me. And I didn't know.
So it was a fellow student?
Mm-hmm. And
how did you find out?
A close girlfriend of mine approached me the following week at school and was like, "Do you know, are you good?" And I was like, "Why wouldn't I be good?" And she was just told me what happened. And I'm like, I've had to be a survivor and just like a fighter for myself from a very young age. So when she told me that, I didn't have time to fall apart. I just went into game plan mode, right?
Yeah.
So I went directly, I assumed it was the person I had sex with because he did have a reputation of being a little bit of a douche and a womanizer.
Yeah.
We actually had a very special connection, but I was like, I kind of wouldn't put it past him. So I kind of sneakily went into this one class that I had with him and I was like, "Oh, my phone's dead. Can I use your phone real quick?" And just went all through his stuff. And there was no trace, no sign of anything, no tape, no like texts about it. He had no idea. And so I was like, "Wow, okay, I got to go to admin and tell the school basically who did this and have them have their items confiscated and like searched. And I'm about to file a police report because I was also 17. That's technically child porn. I don't play with that. Don't play with me."
Yeah.
And so there's these big buff bodyguards just, go into this guy's class and just swoop him up and like interrogate the crap out of him and look through all his stuff. And there was evidence, but
what happened to the kid?
Nothing.
No.
Nothing.
Even when you filed the police report?
Yeah.
The police didn't do nothing?
Nothing.
Yeah.
And I got sent away to a wilderness program and withdrawn from UCLA. You see why this is not right?
Yes, I do.
Complete mishandling and disrespect towards me as a woman, as a Black woman. Mm-hmm. Not okay.
The kid who filmed you, was he white?
Nope. Brother.
He's Black? But
the person I had sex with was white.
Okay. So,
yep.
Were you, how did that affect you mentally?
I'm sure you can guess how that affected me mentally. It was traumatizing, and also being sent away, just sort of the intergenerational trauma I was carrying as a Black person, a partly Jewish person, an adopted person, not knowing where am I going, what is happening to me, like, yeah. You get it. And feeling very punished for doing things that, the moment that I was having with this person, having sex with the person I was having sex with, it was consensual. It was meant to be private. We were having safe sex. In essence, in my opinion, there was nothing intrinsically wrong with my behavior in that regard. What was wrong is that someone was filming me.
Yeah.
Found a very creepy, bizarre way to film me and was distributing that to some of his friends and people around the school.
Did he sneak in your room? How did this happen?
It's not even necessary. Like something to that extent. Yeah. Something to that effect. Yeah. So
who's your mother sent you away for that?
And just feeling so betrayed, so misunderstood, so mishandled, and the loss of the college I was supposed to be going to, UCLA, that is a privilege. Yeah. It is not an easy school to necessarily
Why
get into.
Why did you have to withdraw from there?
She withdrew me. I was a minor, so I had no say in the matter. She withdrew me while I was away.
Did she do that because she was thinking of, it was her mind set, I need to protect
I think she felt like, at first, that was her interpretation of protecting me. It's like, she's not ready for this next step in her life path. She needs help. She needs fixing, you know?
Was that that incident, was that the first time your mother found out you were sexually active?
No. But that always, I think, concerned her. Even if it was being done safely, it concerned her. And, you know, all that really, you know, it led to a lot of depression, anxiety, PTSD. And I had already a lot of that stemming from other earlier life experiences, but it compounded, you know? And so even when I got out of that program, it took me some years to kind of recover mentally from that. And I needed some time away from school, even when I tried to kind of reapply or attempt to even just go to like community college a little bit.
How long were you in the program?
It was a 2-month program. But there was a lot of nonsense that I don't even have interest. I don't even want to give it my energy. There was just a lot of nonsense that went on there. So it took a while for me to heal from that, heal from feeling so misunderstood, right? And just mishandled. It was like this middle class jail, you know? Yeah. It was really dehumanizing and disrespectful towards me, in my opinion. And after that, I lived in Boulder for a year just to kind of gain some work experience and figure out what I wanted to do next. But that and while I was living there, I reapplied to some schools. And I think I had internalized this message that you don't deserve this and that. So I didn't even reapply to UC. I just went for state schools. And there's nothing wrong with state schools, right? Nothing at all. But it's unfortunate that I didn't reapply for these institutions that I did get into, you know? And so I went to SF State after a year of taking a year off and as a dance major. Hated it. Just thought it was.
Why'd you hate it? Bad teachers?
Yeah, just underfunded program, kind of meh curriculum, a lot of favoritism shown to like seniors who were trying to get out after 6 years of being in the program. Like, it was just a lot of nonsense, and I didn't like the style of dance that I was being told to. Yeah, you know, I was being trained within. Ballet has always hurt my body. It just hurts. It doesn't feel right. I've always been way more drawn to more African and Latin styles of dance. And I also got involved in a very toxic relationship for some years around that time. And that really threw me off my educational track as well. I think it was a reflection of just feeling so low about myself that I allowed somebody to kind of reactivate a lot of trauma. Yeah. And that lasted for some years. So all that to say, it took me some time to really ground myself and really heal and just get back on track with my schooling. But it's like once I was committed, once I was fully on board, you know what I mean? So
what made you pick the subject that you are studying now? Like what happened? What happened in life? Or
yeah, it was just a GE, like a general ed class, Intro to Sociology at Berkeley City College. I didn't have any idea that I would be that drawn to it. It was just something I was like, this fills out some prerequisite that I need. Like, let me just take it. But my teacher was amazing, in my opinion. I don't even remember his. Yeah, I do. Daryl Hughes, I believe it's Professor Daryl Hughes. Okay. Really witty, funny, intelligent, I believe British man. And he actually is a faculty member or, you know, something. He holds some position, I believe, at CSU East Bay too, which is where I ended up to complete my sociology undergraduate degree. And I just loved the class. Everything felt, a lot of people who are pulled into sociology have a similar experience. Like, I just wandered into this intro class and it just, everything, all these ways I make sense of the world just were explained in this very beautiful way. And I just felt right at home. Like, this is my academic home, you know?
Okay. And so you are in the master's program now.
Whoop. Yes. That's Oakland for you.
I can edit that out.
All right.
So that fucked up my train of thought.
We were talking about sociology, that being sort of my academic home.
Yeah.
We can wait for this nonsense to subside.
Let me see if that's my car. Huh?
Okay. That's always good. You never know. Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, so you so let's talk about painting. Your paintings. Mm-hmm. Do you sell your paintings? Do you
oh yeah.
You put on shows or anything?
Yes. You know, it's a balancing act, just being a creative and an academic. Mm-hmm. You know, with this strong pull towards healing work and just every other endeavor I have in life, you know, it's something that's always been hard to juggle. But especially in my very early 20s, I'm sort of towards my late 20s now, but in my early 20s, I was doing a lot of art shows. I've had a website for years that I sell art prints on, and I do freelance commission work still. I just don't always post about it, but it's always there. It's an undercurrent of who I am. Always selling watercolor art mainly. Mm-hmm. So.
And how do you find the people that you paint?
There's usually not like any real, you know, people. It's just visions that come to me and I just paint, you know. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll come across a really beautiful woman on Instagram or something. Mm-hmm. And if I am drawing her, I'll always tag her, you know, to give her respect and the photographer, you know, respect for the image. But usually it's just coming from my head, from my dreams, from my subconscious. It's not anyone specific. Mm. People often think I'm drawing myself. They're like, oh, this looks like a lot of self-portraits. And I can see why, like, some people would say that, but it's not intentional, you know?
How do you feel, in what way have you changed, like, mentally and physically?
Since when?
Since, like, college. I mean, you're still in college, but since you were, like, a freshman to now.
You're talking about when I was at SF State and then took some time off. I would say at that stage of my life.
Are you a more confident woman? Are you? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, to that question, I am. I would say way more self-confident, way more self-assured, just certain of myself and my goals. And I'm not. I learned a very, very beautiful but hard lesson in just not letting my love life deter me from personal goals, larger goals. Mm-hmm. And honestly, if my partnership can't foster or support that, then I don't think it's meant to be a part of my life.
Do you feel like you, because I mean, you keep saying your love life, do you feel like you choose the wrong partners all the time?
No, I would never say anyone I've been with was the wrong partner. Mm. I feel like that's a superficial way of viewing those experiences, or a very like self-victimizing way of viewing those experiences. Because I think it takes two to do that toxic tango. Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
And all of the people that I've been in partnership with, all like my twin flames, my soulmates, my lovers, I still love them. I don't need to be with them to still love them. Mm. I still see them as whole and complete individuals trying their best, just as I am.
Yeah.
You know? And they taught me a lot. They've all taught me a lot. And I hope I've taught them some things too. Mm. And that's just life, you know?
Would you ever be in a relationship with a couple?
I've been asked that a lot. You know, it's usually, and I don't think it's really worth it for me, because it's very hard to come across a genuinely open couple when it comes to that. I feel like my experiences with that have been usually one or the other is more drawn to me. Not they are both not necessarily on the same page as wanting to do that dance and that lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to accommodate the other person's desire for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it leads to a lot of hurt feelings and jealousy. And I've dealt with a lot of people just fetishizing me and hypersexualizing me and just kind of wanting to feast on me as this kind of like swirly, exotic, like artsy woman. And I'm deeper than that.
Yeah.
I'm not just here to like titillate you. You understand? So, no.
Okay. After you graduate, do you plan on staying in Oakland, the Bay Area?
It's hard to say. Perhaps.
When do you finish school?
I will graduate. It's a 2-year program. This is my first year, so I think, sorry, dial that back. Let me try it again. 2022. Okay. May of 2022 is when I'm set to graduate from my master's. And I would like to hopefully be in a position of being in a partnership, secure place in my love life to where I can have kids, perhaps.
So you don't have kids now?
No.
Okay.
But I actually thought I would have had some by now, but I'm acceptant. I'm a very career-driven woman who's had a lot of intense life experiences. So, it's okay. But I would love to have kids if I can have them. Even if I cannot bear them, I want kids in a different way. I would adopt in a heartbeat,
Yeah.
And I would like to kind of delve into that sort of familial realm of my life. And then maybe go back to school again for my doctorate. I see myself being an academic and a learner for life, a researcher. I'm a very learned person. I love academia.
So you think colleges and like those school institutions are worth it?
Yes. If I feel like it really depends on the person and their goals, I do not think college is a necessary step for everybody. In fact, I don't think it's for most people. We're so primed to view it that way, but I think a lot of these upcoming generations and our generation and even some a little bit above, really get that.
Why do you think it's a necessary step for you?
Because I actually really love to learn in this way. Like
in a class? Or
I love being in a classroom. I see myself perhaps being a professor one day. Like I love education and being an educator in an conventional academic setting. I really love it. And I see this as necessary steps I must take to secure certain degrees that will open certain financial doors for me.
Yeah.
You understand? Like I could do a lot of this stuff already, but I'm just kind of working, finessing the program, let me just like do what y'all need me to do so I can do this and get paid well, so that I can, what I'm stepping into is largely a labor of love profession. Most people that go into social work are not doing it with the expectation of being paid well. And if they are, they're in for a rough awakening. There are some, avenues that can give you that, but it is not a guarantee.
Yeah.
Perhaps that will change. There's a lot of change in the air, but to answer that, I love to learn in this particular fashion. I want to be an educator one day, and I need my degrees so I can do a number of things I intend to do in this lifetime, universe willing.
Do you want to teach like college students, kids, or just any
college?
College. Do you want to be a college professor?
That would be my ideal. Okay. I could see myself doing a number teaching. I've done a lot of tutoring with youth and teenagers over the years, and I love doing that more on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah.
And the sort of the challenge, I often befriend a number of professors. Like I go to their office hours and we become friends, and they become mentors to me, and I stay in touch with them even after I'm not their student anymore, and just having, listen to them, sort of their frustrations and, hardships as educators. I'm just like, and some of those things I've experienced too as a tutor, our educational system is so broken. And oftentimes when you're in a university setting, if it's like a state university or a community college, you're handed like a very wide range of students at different levels as far as their skill. And I want to work there. I want to work with that. Get my people up to what they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, how do you feel about the Oakland Unified School District? Do you think it's bad or good?
I often don't look at things in such binary construct, with such a binary construct.
Uh-huh.
It's not good or bad. It needs some help, needs some healing for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of systemic ruptures in the Oakland public school system. And last year in particular, I was working with at-risk. I don't really like that term, but that's what it's often referred to as at-risk youth, seniors who are presenting an extremely high likelihood of dropping out. I worked with this nonprofit as a volunteer, and I would go into these classrooms and work with students one-on-one that had been identified by faculty and admin as like, this person's about to dip, you know?
Yeah.
Help, please. And I would work with them for the school year. And that was a really eye-opening and gratifying and beautiful experience. And it was just like, oh my goodness. You know, a number of these kids are going to end up at state schools. A number of these kids are going to just end up in a variety of different areas of life. And I want to help, you know, so they're not overwhelmed when they, in whatever, you know, the next environment they're in is.
Okay.
You know?
Have you ever been to therapy?
Yeah. I've been in therapy since I was really little. And I've taken pauses and stuff. I'm in it now. I think that we need to destigmatize mental health. We need to destigmatize having a therapist, a counselor, just somebody outside of our immediate life having an unbiased, quote unquote, opinion. Someone, a safe space, safe emotional space to just let it all out. I don't think there's such a notion attached to that means that there's something wrong. And I feel like even when your life is at peace, that is a very beneficial privilege to have in your life.
Is your life at peace now?
Yeah, in some ways. In some ways. Some things are still falling into place, but I feel like I'm like coming up and out of some very dark waters.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling very grateful and at peace.
Has a therapist ever prescribed you any? Can therapists prescribe drugs?
No.
No.
That's a psychiatrist.
Yeah, psychiatrist.
Why do you ask?
I'm just asking.
You're just asking.
It's just.
You're never just asking. People don't just ask anything.
No,
but
I'm just asking.
Oh, okay. But that has been something that has been offered.
I mean, you said you were diagnosed with what, ADHD?
I definitely didn't say that. No.
What did you say? What did you say earlier?
I never said I was diagnosed with anything.
Oh.
But I perhaps alluded to self-diagnosing with as far as depression and anxiety and PTSD goes. And some people do turn towards like prescription medication or Western medication for that. I did that once when I was like 18. It didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And it's such a gamble too. It's such an experimentation, a trial and error with those sorts of medications can really exacerbate your symptoms.
Yeah. The reason why I was bringing that up is because I don't agree with when someone said giving them medicine. I feel like if you're sad, then I don't know. There's ways to get out of depression.
For sure, I completely agree.
You don't even have to take medicine, and I think medicine makes it worse. And it creates other problems.
I can see why you'd say that, and in part, I agree. I think for some people who have I don't completely disregard or want to not give credit to sort of the power and efficacy of some realms of the allopathic approach. And I feel like with some people who have very severe symptoms, very maladaptive symptoms, I know I'm using very Anglocentric, Eurocentric terminology right now, but there is some legitimacy to it.
Yeah.
And for some people, I do feel like who have like literal chemical imbalances, chemical and hormonal imbalances, some medications can really be beneficial. It would be my hope that would not be a permanent necessity, but for some people it might be. And again, we need to destigmatize that. If that's the case for them, so be it, you know? But I do think that medications are overprescribed. The whole like the whole world is just like medicine, Western medicine, how it's commercialized, just the overtones and undertones of capitalism and just capitalistic greed going on there. It's just like, how do you cannot put a money value on compassion. And we try to in this society, and it's awkward when we're failing, in my opinion.
When was the last time you felt you were depressed?
I don't know. I feel like these days we all have been feeling a little depressed.
How do you get over that?
I tend to turn towards plants, meditation,
Like
art,
planting,
gardening,
okay,
and herbalism. Like I'm really into tinctures, not marijuana, but other forms, like concentrated forms of liquid forms of different plants and herbs.
So explain that to me. So you, what do you just? These are just herbs that you drank, or what? Or just
you can take them in a variety of different forms. You can eat them. That tends to be a little hard on most people's digestive tract. So usually, putting it in water and mixing it with something else to kind of dilute it a little bit can be easier, but it's effective in my opinion. Even just it's the bubbly water. Basil, holy basil. You can get that in liquid form, put it in some water, drink it. Really good aid for anxiety. So many indigenous and African communities have a very strong understanding of how if you just go about things with a plant-based and holistic approach, most things can be remedied just by that. And community, human connection. I feel like so much of why people are depressed or sad or whatever, it's due to a lack of genuine, meaningful, and consistent human connection. We're becoming so isolated, and with COVID and everything, it's not making things much easier. And I feel like a lot of people, just alcoholism is through the roof right now. Drug abuse, or, substance use issues are through the roof right now. Domestic violence through the roof right now. Divorce rates, we're hurting.
So let me ask your opinion on this. Divorce rates are up, yes, and domestic violence is up, yes, because everyone's stuck in the house. Now, my question to you is, why do you think that is? I mean, if you were with the man, why now get divorced when you already known this person, or the person, like he or she known you, whatever?
I think that for some people, I can't. Like, I don't, my perspective is limited.
What's your opinion?
My opinion on the matter is that people are being forced to be around one another way more than perhaps they were before. Like, even if you've been with somebody for some years, you're not necessarily cooped up in a house with them 24/7.
Yeah.
So even things that might have been a little annoying or bothersome, it's like, all right, at least I get some relief. I get to have my own life outside of the house, and there's so much immense, just layered levels of stress that we're all going through as individuals. And it's very easy to scapegoat people and kind of use others as a punching bag that are just in your immediate sphere, Do
you think it's because people can't go out and cheat anymore?
I think cheaters, where there's a will, there's a way, honey. Like, I don't think that's changing really.
Like husbands who were married, now they're stuck in the house and they can't leave and go see their side piece anymore. They're stuck with.
It is my educated guess that that's not shifting much.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that particular dynamic, again, where there's a will, there's a way for that kind of individual. And even if it's not in person cheating, we know how the internet works. It's not that hard, but I can't necessarily speak to that dynamic, but at this point in my life, at least.
What do you miss about, what do you miss the most about the way things were to how they are now?
I miss, I'm a very reclusive, introverted, solitary person. And I really like having a lot of alone time out in the world, out in nature. And even not necessarily in nature. Like, one of my favorite pastimes is to just go to a restaurant and eat by myself, reading a book.
Yeah.
And it's just not a comfortable or safe experience in a variety of ways right now. I just love going on little solo adventures out in the world. And I think a lot of people and women in particular have this kind of unfortunate view of that, like, oh, I got to be with my boo all the time or with a friend or something, or I look lonely.
Yeah.
Alone and lonely are not the same thing. If you feel lonely, you're in need of yourself, not anybody else, in my opinion. So those are the things I miss. I'm like kind of what do people call a gym rat? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I used to really love working out and going to the gym. And I found like other ways to make it happen. But that was just part of my like routine, just having sort of set routines. I miss that. I mean, the downside to the gym life is that you got to deal with a lot of looking eyes and a lot of entitlement and impatience, like how many more sets you got? Like if you don't back and let me finish, my God, things like that.
Yeah.
But, the smell, the stench, just sweat and stinky equipment, all that. I don't miss all that, but those other things I really do miss.
Okay. Now, what do you like about how things are now and what they were?
It has really allowed for me to slow down and be more introspective and reflective on a lot of things. It's given me time to take pause. I've had the privilege to take pause from some things that were obligatory prior to all of this. I was a full-time student, full-time worker. So, from like 8 to 3, I was in school. And then from 5 to 11, working. About 5 to 6 days a week for like 5+ years. That was my grind, and prior to that, I was just working full time, really long hours. So, and I worked during sort of, up until July, I was an essential worker. I worked in a restaurant doing takeout. Prior to that, I was waitressing, and I just shifted into the takeout because, dining wasn't allowed for some time. And just, I took a month in between like that and grad school. And that month alone was just like, so many things hit me. There was a lot of self-realization, during that month alone. I was like, wow, imagine, we put a lot of emphasis. We give a lot of love to, thinkers like Buddha. That was a privilege, to be out in the woods and just think like that. A lot of us don't have the privilege to do that. A lot of our people don't have the privilege to do that.
What gym did you used to go to?
I've been a member of so many different. I've been, Planet Fitness all the way to Equinox. Like I've really been everywhere. But my most recent gym was what's it called? LA Fitness. Whatever.
Okay.
God, it's been so long since I've been there. I almost blanked on the name.
What do you do now to get your physical?
Well, prior to these fires, I was hiking like a lot. I have a lot of beautiful nearby trails. I'm near Martinez, so there's a lot of beautiful like hiking spots out there.
You're outdoorsy. Very
outdoorsy. And yoga, and I found this one like very chipper, bouncy, person on YouTube who was helping get my butt right for a minute, but I fell off of that.
All right. So, tell the people where they can find. Tell the people where they can find you if you want to give a shout out of your Instagram.
Sure.
Or if your website.
Okay.
And whatever else you want. The thousands and thousands of people who listen to this.
Thousands and thousands? Oh my gosh.
Thousands and thousands, yes.
All right. Well, as far as my website goes, the shop, everything is out of stock right now because I just did I put out a bunch of prints that all went towards like nonprofits that are catered to the BLM movement. And right now I'm working on some pieces again, and I still like almost all the time, at least 25% of my sales go towards nonprofit organizations. And I put all that information on my website so you can know where it's going.
Yeah.
And if you don't support it, cool, but, my website is, I'm just going to spell it out because I've got a Ukrainian name and it's going to confuse people. So, it's by LenaKrystyna.com. So it's BYLENAKRYSTYNA.com. And my Instagram is Lena Krystyna, LenaKrystyna. I tend to share, it's a myriad of things I share on my Instagram in particular. Again, I don't feel like I can confine myself to one mode of expression as a creative, as a healer, as just a force of just female energy, you know. Well, we all have female and male divine energy within us all, I believe. But I tend to really own my female energy.
Yeah.
I guess male energy too, because I can be kind of like, as you know, even in this conversation, I've had to say some things. But yeah, find me on there. I share my art, a lot of socio-political stuff as well. Yeah, that's where to find me. Please be a part of my ongoing journey.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, please follow her on all of those different platforms. Support her. She is a force to be reckoned with. And if you just want to talk and ask some questions about, like if you're depressed, or if you just want, or just anything, if you want some advice about healing and how to heal yourself,
yes,
she is a good person to talk to about that. Because it's good to talk to people who actually been through the shit that you are seeking.
I've been through a lot. I didn't even share all of it on here tonight. I could tell you were trying to get me to go there, but
we can do part 2 another day.
maybe not. Some things don't need to be said, but just so people know, I can relate to a lot. I don't want to bring my shit. Can I say cuss words on here? Okay, I don't want to bring my shit into other people's shit. This is their safe space, right?
Yes.
But just know that I might get it more than you think, and I can plug people to other things if I'm not the right person for them.
All right.
So.
Well, thank you, Lena, for gracing me tonight.
Thank you as well. I'm very grateful.
This is Everyday Celebrity Podcast. We are out. You.
Ashe.